Matthew 25 is an amazing chapter when you consider the various parts of it. But this particular parable, I think, is one of the greatest, possibly the greatest. I would put up against this the parable of the sower of the seed. So we're going to take a look at this and see what Jesus is telling us and what the symbols bear out. So the man going on the journey calls in his servants, that's us, and entrusts his possessions to them. Now notice it's his possessions, not ours. Now, you probably think your hand is your hand, right? Did you make it? Did somebody give it to you? Is it going to last forever? Well, I'm pretty sure this hand is going to be winding up at the end of my life like, Ash Wednesday. Remember, you're dust, to dust you shall return. But if I'm a good boy, I'm going to get a new hand and a new body that'll last forever as a gift from God for being faithful to him in this world. So this world is a test. It's a test of temporary things that also connect to eternal things. And then if we do good, the Lord will entrust us with greater things. So the man going on the journey, so God is there at the beginning, he creates us, and then he goes on a journey until the end of our lives when we go to show him what we have done with the gifts he has given us, if we have used them for good or evil. So the man entrusted his possessions to them. You remember Rush Limbaugh, may he rest in peace, he used to make that joke, talent on loan from God. Well, everything we have is on loan from God. And if we do good with it in time, in eternity, we'll receive a permanent, upgraded version of everything we get. So, because this is a parable, there are symbols. So he gives 5 talents to one, to another 2, each according to his ability. So what is a talent? In the original language, it meant money. It could have been something like, a $100 bill, a Benjamin. But because of the influence on the English language, the meaning of the word talent has taken on another meaning than its original meaning, which was just money. It has to do with an ability. So if someone does good at something, they say, oh, he has a talent for that. But that's not the original meaning. It has become that because of the Christian influence of this parable on the English language. Now, we see after a long time, the master of those servants came back, which of course is God, and settled accounts with them. So the one who had received 5 talents came forward, bringing the additional 5. Master, you gave me 5, I have made 5 more. And then we hear those beautiful words, well done, good and faithful servant. That's what we want to be. We want to be good, faithful, humble, prayerful servants. That's our goal in life. Since you are faithful in small matters, that's the things of this world, I will give you great responsibilities. Come share your master's joy. So whatever it is that God does for fun, we're going to get to share in it. Share in your master's joy. So then the other guy has the 2 talents, same thing, traded. Then we get to the guy that got 1 talent. Now he could have traded that and gotten 2 talents. But he comes and he criticizes God. We got to watch it when we criticize God, because he can criticize us back. And he's probably going to win the argument. So, Master, I knew you were a demanding person. Well, God is demanding of us, but he gives us the ability to do the things that he demands us to do. Harvesting we did not plant, and gathering we did not scatter. So God expects us to plant. He expects us to help him plant the seed of the gospel in the hearts and minds and souls of men and to spread the faith. So out of fear, I went off and buried your talent in the ground. That's a lame excuse. So he's going to put the talent. So what is the talent anyway? Well, the talent is, for our spiritual purposes, first of all, grace. God gives us grace. And if we use the grace he gives us, we can multiply it. So if I take the faith that God gives me and the grace and I pray, I increase my faith and my grace. I also get to be in a position where I can help others be saved. And so I want to read this little passage to you, which has influenced my life greatly and probably was a big influence on me becoming a priest. It's the very last two verses of the letter of St. James. It's at the very end. Where was that? It's at the end. My brothers, if anyone among you should stray from the truth, and someone should bring him back, he should know that whoever brings back a sinner from the error of his way will save his soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins. Now you talk about a twofold blessing. Now that's one of the works of mercy, is to convert or admonish the sinner. So if we can bring someone back, not only says we're going to save our own soul, but we're going to cover a multitude of sins. Ooh, I like that line. I think I got a few that need to be covered. So, if we can do that, that means less time on the purgatory. It helps clear it off, So this guy here, he's buried the talent in the earth. So what is that? Well, talent in our gospel is it's time. God gives us so much time in this world to do good. To do good for ourselves, to get us close to Him, to save our souls, and to do good to other souls, to bring them closer to heaven, to make a difference. Now, at the end of our lives, Scripture says we carry nothing into this world and we carry nothing out. That's true in terms of material things. But what about our effect? What about our influence on people as well as on ourselves? Wouldn't it be nice to know that at the end of our lives there's some people in heaven who might not have made it if it wasn't for our prayers and our example and our words? The Blessed Mother at Fatima said, "Pray for sinners. Many go to hell because they have no one to pray for them." So it's important for us to pray. Pray for ourselves so we make it to heaven, and to pray for sinners, to pray for others, pray for members of our family, our friends that we know that may have strayed. They stopped going to church, they stopped praying, they're burying their talents in the earth, in the things of this world, in sensual things. So we don't want to die and have our moment in front of God and He's going to look at the talent I gave you, the time, the faith, the energy, the resources, and you put it all into the things of this world. Not to pick on the people that win Oscars and Grammys and whatever else, but do you think that God's up in heaven cheering them on? Oh, wow, I hope this song wins. That's my favorite song, yeah. No, I think God is cheering on the souls that are growing in grace and the love of God and neighbor, and getting themselves saved to heaven and getting others saved to heaven. That's what God is cheering on. Jesus even tells us the angels in heaven rejoice over one repentant sinner, more so over 99 righteous. So think about that kind of a harvest. That's what you want to have at the end of your life. People that might not have made it to heaven were it not for you being alive. There's that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, where the angel Clarence says to him, because he's reviewing his life if he hadn't been there, and he says, all those men on the transport died because you weren't there to save Harry. So Harry was the one that saved them, but that's because he saved Harry. So there's a domino effect that we don't even realize in the good things that we do. So that's something we need to realize about the multiplying. So these people got 5 talents, another got 2, and they invested it according to the bank. What's that? The church that teaches how to pray. One of the ways to grow in interest on the grace God gives us is through prayer. That's one of the best ways to do it, and the church teaches us how to pray. It's in the gospel. So that's taking the talent, the gifts, the time, the resources, the grace, the faith that God gives us, and multiplying it. So this guy here, he's in big trouble. What does God say to him? You wicked, lazy servant. You knew I harvested where I did not plant and gathered where I did not scatter. That's because that was his job to do it. God gave him the seeds and the ability to do that. And he neglected the duty that God had given him with his life. So that you could have deposited my money in the bank and could have gotten it back with interest. So then we see this servant, it says, throw this useless servant. So he's got another adjective. He's got 3, wicked, lazy, and useless. And he gets thrown into the darkness because he already lived in darkness in his whole life. We don't want to live in darkness. We don't want to live in the darkness of sin. We want to live in the light, in the grace. And we want to have our soul filled with the grace of God and the light of God, so that when we go into the next world, we realize that we were profitable servants, not useless. We were good servants, not wicked. We were not lazy. We were faithful. And so you can see the contrast here. Now, I'll give you an example. This statue over here, statue of Mary, that was $14,000. It's imported from Spain. And, when we were building the church, we were looking for donors for things, and this guy stepped forward and he said, "Father, I want to buy the main statue of Mary for the church." And I said, "Well, it's expensive." He says, "I'm going to pull money out of retirement, whatever I got, I'll pay for it." So he paid for it, $14,000 out of his retirement money. A little while later, he says to me, "I got a call from my brother, and some investments we made have paid off, and he just got back 3 times that amount." So not only does he get back what he gave to the church, but he gets even more. You can't outgive God. Every time I've given something to God in terms of money or whatever, it somehow comes back to me in the same, if not a greater amount. Sometimes exactly the same amount, and I can almost see God smiling at me. "Okay, now I gave you money back. What are you going to do with it now?" So you can't outgive God on any level. There's the money, money, we can use money in terms of helping to grow grace by giving to the church and to the poor and whatnot, and things like that. But there's, again, giving of our life, our heart, our mind, and our soul. And so, again, at the end of our life, we're not taking our favorite chair or favorite car. We're not taking that with us. What are we going to have in the next world when we get there? We're going to have the people, the goodness that we influence in their lives, and also whatever good we did for our own to bring us closer to God. That's where the real value is at. That's everlasting value, everlasting wealth that we take with us. So many times people spend so much of their lives trying, "I got to win the lottery, I got to do this, I got to do that, got to get more money." Well, money is sort of the counterpart to grace. If you have a lot of money, you can do almost anything in this world in terms of worldly things. You can travel where you want, buy the best house, the best car, whatever. But unless you're maybe giving it to God in some way, you're not going to be able to get grace through having money, unless you're using it for charitable purposes. So money comes to an end. But what do we say about Mary? Mary's the richest person in heaven, besides God, of course. We say, "Hail Mary, full of money." No, we say, "Hail Mary, full of grace." That's what we want. We want to be full of grace when we leave this world. And that comes through prayer and keeping the commandments and living the works of mercy, helping myself and my neighbor get to heaven. That's what the talent, the ability, the gifts that God gives us in this world are to be used for. And if we do that, then we will hear those beautiful words at the end of our life. "Well done, good and faithful servant. Since you have been faithful in small matters, I will give you greater responsibilities. Come, share in your master's joy."